Life on Khimer, as on other worlds, is an enigma. New passengers that we are, we misunderstand how our environment was forged. Similarly, the appearance and consequences of consciousness, thought and complex souls are mysteries. Legends speak in the first place of an age of the microscopic. Life as we conceive it was in its infancy. Then came a desire for complexity. This complexity has led to a desire for union and combinatorics, a desire for complementarity. Some sages believe that the arrival of the proto-elves, coming from Fantasia, also dates from this period, and that their arrival should influence the evolution of the animal kingdom. The legends then speak of an age carried by a desire for growth and assimilation, the age of gigantism. This age, coupled with complex consciences and desires, ended up distorting souls and bodies into grotesque amalgams of flesh and veracity. Creativity and the absolute desire for growth had created a cancer of the living. According to the recurrent and known myth of the order transcending the chaos from which it arose, it was then that a new form of life took precedence. The primordial dragons appeared. They were egregores of reptiles, demigods composed not of aggregates of matter, but of a composition of beings and their souls in resonance. These collectives could resist together the cosmic influences of voracious madness. Better yet, these egregores represented a concept beyond mere organic growth and reproduction. They magnified the notion of belonging, possession and protection. At the end of terrible battles, tens of millions of years before our era, and which caused the near disappearance of dinosaurs, the world, bloodless, was painfully rising under the protective but captive aegis of primordial dragons. The primordial dragons still present discussed little about this time. Perhaps because such distant events sound like another life. Under the reign of the primordial dragons, mammals and other subgenera of the animal kingdom appeared and evolved as well as reptiles themselves. This period is described in Nahuatl Orc mythology as the first sun. This is also the first cycle mentioned by the Mayan elves. At the end of this cycle, the snake and feline peoples, respectively at the head of reptiles and conscious mammals, managed to extinguish the interminable tyranny of the draconic egregores to impose theirs. They broke the anchor to our world of their psyche. Thus they exiled the consciousnesses on their plane of affinity, the yellow labyrinth. According to the Nahuatl, these events marked the end of the first sun and the advent of the second. The next age is called the Age of Scales and Fur. It lasted several 100,000 years. It was a sophisticated but relentless era of domination by many peoples derived from the animal world. During this reign many events, conflicts, achievements escaped the knowledge of historians. The primordial dragons, then absent, cannot bring them back, and the remains to have crossed the ages until us are rare. There are, however, some pyramids preserved in the North America, in Memphis or Cairo, or hidden in the jungles of South America. 200,000 years ago there was a sudden and significant cooling of the planet. A furious wind devastated most civilizations of the time. The end of the cataclysm was an opportunity for the elves, less dependent on heat and food, to conquer the known world and install their order. This conquest marks the arrival of the third sun according to the Nahuatl orcs, and also the third cycle depicted by the Mayan elves, theirs. It is gradually ready for this period that the first Homo sapiens appear. The age of the elves lasted several tens of thousands of years. Their reign is portrayed as prosperous and advanced, although debauched by modern standards. The era of the elves seems punctuated by conflicts with the snake people, previous masters of the South Continent. Their history is, however, too long and ancient to be finely detailed. More than 10,000 years ago, according to legend, a catastrophe caused the awakening of several primordial dragons. Then began their alternating cycle of wakefulness and sleep that is still going on today. At this first awakening the primordial dragons, furious, then fell the rains of fire and acid that were to cause the end of the third cycle, or sun. It was also during this draconic cataclysm that the orcs appeared in Central and Southern America and caused havoc on the empire already in the collapse phase. The origin of the Titans and Giants is poorly documented, but sources agree to describe their arrival from Atlantis in a world then prey to the fury of the primordial dragons. The Titans, incarnations of the elemental force, arrived on Americ's continent with vast armies of giant and dwarf servants. The Titans and giants themselves were then numerous and waged a large-scale war against the draconic egregores. Suffering terrible losses, they resorted to powerful shamanic, runic or even demonic magic. They finally managed to defeat the ancient power of the primordial dragons, who then had to reincarnate and regain their strength. But the Titans were gone. Several instances of conflict with the egregores occurred during the giants' reign on the continent, carrying them slowly but surely to near extinction. If it is during this period that the first mentions of demons appear officially, some sages assume that their existence and presence is earlier. The reign of the giants was marked by an advanced but violent and cruel civilization. The Americ of the center was then the fief of the Nahuatl orcs, who practiced magic similar to demonic magic, based on blood sacrifices. He managed to protect their territory from giants during their age. The age in question lasted until torrential rains raised the water level to the point of engulfing Atlantis, unless the latter collapsed under its own weight. The dwarfs took advantage of this disappearance of the seat of power to free themselves from the cruel yoke of the giants who remained on the continent. They pushed the giants of northern Americ beyond the Great Glacier. What happened then to the giants of the South Americ is unknown, but history will no longer hear about it. These events, incurred in -3000 before Valtar, mark the end of the fourth sun according to the Nahuatl orcs, and the beginning of the fifth. Dwarf age is more recent and better documented. Several of their civilizations prospered in the North America depends on other species. To the south of what are now called the Old Kingdoms, the Peplum Empire in the making stretched along the center and South America to found one of the largest and most powerful nations still today. Civilization known for its architectural achievements, or more negatively for its practice of necromancy. In the year -300 before Valtar in the North and Center Americ, many peoples revolted against their masters. Humans were one of them, and the freedmen laid the foundations of the future Holy Empire. Year Zero is marked by Volta's sacrifice to prevent the world from engulfing in darkness. Some sages take this date to define the end of the dwarf era. Others believe that dwarf civilizations were already in decline 1,400 years ago with the disappearance of their gods, mad emperors, and corrupt governments. The current Peplum Empire is experiencing a revival with the reign of Vespasian, and the ancient kingdoms in the north cover part of their past radiance. But dwarfs can no longer claim to be the main actors of our era. And so for nearly 1,000 years, different peoples, mainly gnomes and humans, have been cooperating or struggling to give their name to the age that is being written.